Good evening, everyone. Okay, I'm just waiting for myself to go live online. Hello, hello, Electra. Hello, everyone. I'm just waiting for a few minutes to get more of our listeners to join, and I will say a few words about the series, and of course, we will welcome our dear guest for tonight. Hello, and we'll have a wonderful evening today. Thank you all again and again for always following me, for joining me, and I'm very touched. Just a few more minutes, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of people to. I forgot to disconnect. It's okay. Hi. So nice to feel all your energy. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll just. I'm sure. Julian will join us in a second. Here you go. I'm seeing Julian, and we are going to connect to him just in a few seconds. I'm sure he's going to be with us just in a second. He's early morning for him. Hi, Julian.
Good morning, Olga.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are
Good to
you?
see you.
It's
I'm
very
very good.
exciting to be connecting with you from New York, your
I
other
know.
city.
I know, Julian. I think you should sit a little bit toward toward the back, so we see you exactly. Because we'll still hear and listen and see you, but otherwise we just see most of your hair, and that's about
Well,
it.
that's all that matters, Olga.
Actually, that's very true. That's very, very true. Well, thank you so much, and good morning. And I'm sorry you had to wake up so early for conversations with Olga, but I'm very, very happy.
Well, this is a very important date. I can't miss something like this.
Right, and you're even on time. Yes, and what are you drinking? Coffee.
It's New York, so coffee.
Coffee. Okay. Well, I'm going to say a few words about about you, about conversations with Olga, and then we'll just chat as we always do.
As we always
Well,
do.
good. Okay, wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us tonight, this morning for people from United States, and good afternoon for the people in Europe. And just a few words about myself, because some people might not know me, and about the conversations with Olga. My name is Olga Serlis. Singapore has been my home for over 30 years, and I'm very proud to call it my home. And I've always, for over 30 years, I've been supporting and promoting art and culture in Singapore because it's very, very important for me. I grew up in a very musical and very cultural family, and I really try to support as many causes as possible here in Singapore. And during the circuit breaker last year, I've started the Conversations with Olga. It is an IGTV series fostering intellectual and cultural exchange between influential individuals from all around the world. They're sharing their personal life stories in hopes to inspire and cultivate a more diverse and inclusive community. And today I'm very, very excited to welcome Julian Gargiulo. And please correct me if I pronounce your last name not to your liking. I can pronounce it.
I like it. I like it, but you can even just say Julian because
Okay,
we know
Julian.
each other well.
Okay, I will say the pianist with the hair. How about that? And
Pianist with the hair is the brand.
okay, here you go. So I will say a few words about you, Julian, and then I will shoot some of the questions to you. Then we go from there.
Now you're gonna embarrass me, Olga.
Well, I don't think so. You are the seasoned entertainer and seasoned artist. So, Julian is a pianist and a Steinway artist and a composer. Julian performs regularly at the venues such as Carnegie Hall, United Nations, Moscow Conservatory Hall, Symphony Stage in Singapore, and so many other places, and has been featured on radio and TV from in North America, Asia, and Europe, and basically everywhere else. You split your time, Julian, between New York and Paris, or that is when you were flying, when the planes were flying, when the planes are flying, but now you're in New York, so you've managed. I have known you for many years right now, and we've had a wonderful projects together. I invited you to be our star entertainer, star artist, star pianist for a number of my very high-profile events, and you were a delight. So I'm so happy to welcome you, and thank you very much for coming over to Conversations with Olga. And
thank you, Olga. It is such a pleasure and honor to be with you. You're one of my favorite people in the world.
Oh my God!
It's funny because I was just thinking as you were saying that we've known each other for really a long time. I think
very long time.
Before my hair was curly, we've known each other. But somehow you have managed to always look the same, and now you even look younger.
Julian, it's just because I never change my hairstyle. Okay, that's that. So that's the only reason. But thank you very much. Thank you.
And it's always a pleasure because whenever we talk, there's always something exciting going on.
Yes.
And you live such an exciting life, and I think anybody that's connected to you feels a little bit better for knowing you.
Well, no, thank you very much. I hope it's just because of my energy and my love for people in general. So I hope so. Anyway, but Julian, you are talking with us from New York, and you live in Paris. What brought you to New York? And and I know that you came to New York for the live performance, and these days to have live performance is incredible. Can you please tell us a little bit about your concert in US?
Yes. So as perhaps you know or don't know, in Paris, in France right now, there is a lockdown, and things in some parts of the world are going better with COVID, but in France not so much. And in fact, Macron has a lockdown which impacts us very much because we have 2 young kids, and of course they have to stay at home. So it's very difficult in a Paris apartment with 2 young kids. I was very fortunate because I got this opportunity to come to the States where things are opening back up. And there was a concert in Richmond, which they told me, if you can't make it, it's okay. You can do it. You can do it virtually. And I've done so much virtually that I wanted to do something actually. Yes. So, and of course there was the extra incentive of, leaving the kids and getting away for a second. But I hope my wife isn't listening to this, even though I know she is.
I saw her online actually, so I'm sorry. Yes, she's listening.
No, it's great to be at home, so that then you can leave. No, I'm kidding. But I had this opportunity, and it's such a long time that I didn't perform live. I was wondering if I even remembered what it felt like, and so I will tell you, it was different. It was very exciting to come out. You remember, Olga, how I come on stage. I don't stay backstage. I stay with the audience, and then I jump onto the stage. So I did all of that, and it was a lot of fun. But of course, the audience was all spread out. They were all 6 feet apart, and they were all wearing masks. And for my kind of performances, I play a little, and then I talk with the audience. Yes. And being able to see the facial expressions of the audience is very important. Yes, so then when suddenly they're all, covered, and I can't see if they're smiling or if they're, it was different. But it was better. As I told them, better 6 feet over than 6 feet under. So,
Yeah, so that actually brings me to a question. Did you have to change jokes?
Yeah, well, there's a whole new world of humor now. It's
Yes, I bet.
So I was asking the audience, if I said, they were probably all vaccinated, and they said that most of them were vaccinated. So I was asking who did Moderna, who did Pfizer. And then I asked them, I thought that they would be grouping them in Moderna and Pfizer sections. And then I had a few jokes about Johnson and Johnson, but I didn't expect anybody to have done Johnson and Johnson just because of the whole thing. But then somebody said that they had done Johnson and Johnson, so I refrained from making any comments like, oh, I wouldn't have expected anybody who did Johnson and Johnson to be here.
Right.
Kind of jokes. But no, it was all fine. And I'm sorry to the makers of Johnson and Johnson, because I then told the audience that they sponsor my hair, Johnson and Johnson. Of course, it's not true either. It's very important to never tell the truth. You must be consistent. Never tell the truth.
I hope your kids are not listening to that.
Never drop the con, Olga. Never drop the con.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for opening up, Julian.
But it was a lot of fun, and it looks like there are more concerts happening. I have to come back in July for another concert, and maybe June. So.
Okay. Wonderful. That's a great news. I would like to ask you your notion about the classical music. I grew up with classical music. I can't even imagine life without classical music, and I've been it's just very passionate about this since my childhood. But I know that some of the people are not really exposed that much to the classical music, and it might not be the case. And actually. I think it was Huffington Post that commented on your concerts the following. They said that expect to revise any preconceived notion you have about classical music concerts. Why is that? Can you explain that quote?
Yeah, sure, because I think that classical music, maybe certainly the way I grew up with it in Italy in a conservatory, was something very serious, something you definitely didn't joke about. My training was all very serious, which was great. And then I went to Moscow, as you know, and I continued studying there. And then I came back to the States, and I went to Peabody. So I went to wonderful schools, had wonderful teachers, and they were all very serious about classical music, which is all great. However, I think that such great music, if nobody hears it, to me, it feels like it's you're missing the point. If there's a great painting and it's closed in a room, well, nobody's getting to see the painting. And so my whole thing is about making it more fun and accessible. Right. And I think that if people feel, oh, it's going to be a fun evening, it's almost as if you trick them. It's because maybe they want to go to a movie, or maybe they want to go to dancing or something, but if they think, oh, this is fun, he might make fun of us. Who knows what he's going to say? He's just crazy. He doesn't even really, know what he's going to say before he's going to say it. And that's how I approach the interactive part of the concert. A little bit like the interactive part of our interview here, which is nothing more interactive than an interview. So.
But do you think that you've managed to change people's mindset about classical music?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because I've learned that you cannot change anybody's mind. But seriously.
Unless the people themselves change their own mind.
Exactly.
But you can help them.
Exactly, yeah. So I try to show them a possibility of something. And the feedback I get is usually very positive. I always get a lot of people telling me, "Oh, wow, I thought it was supposed to be different and boring, and this was so much fun." And of course, they're talking about something else they saw. So it's very. I would say one of the great things about what I do is that it's so rewarding. Like, for instance, even the other day, I was in Richmond. And I played this concert, and all these people, they came up to me, and they were just so thankful, as if I had, done something nice for them, which maybe at some level, it made them happy. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so that's such a
You always
good
do.
feeling if you think about it. That
Yes.
somebody is thankful for something you've done. It's a
Yes.
great feeling.
Absolutely. Yes. I totally can relate to it. Yes.
I think you're in a similar situation, Olga, because I mean I always think of like doctors and people that you know are in professions where people don't I mean they appreciate what they do, but you know if something goes wrong, they really it's as if it's that person's fault. But like I think we're both very lucky. I know when you do things, everybody's so I mean everything I've seen you do is so over the top and everybody's like, "Oh, that was so wonderful." And on the one hand, you probably think, "Well, that's what I do." And yet, at the end, everybody's like, "Thank you, Olga. It was amazing." And that's
Well,
we're lucky, I
thank you
think.
for these comments. I just, I'm just like you. I'm a very passionate person. I care about people. I care about things that I do, and I love to bring joy into celebrations of life to people, just like you do. But tell me, how did it all start? And by the way, I know you. I know for a fact you have an absolutely certain affinity to Russian language, and so is your family. You're not the only one who speaks fluent Russian. I believe your brother speaks fluent Russian as well. And actually, when we met, Julian, if you remember, you spoke to me only in Russian, and Russian was so pure with almost no accent. Can you tell us a little bit about your education and your time spent in the different countries?
Yes. So it's something that a lot of people have trouble believing about me is that growing up, I was very, very shy. Very
Really?
shy. In fact, I
And
always
for
think
me,
that I might not have gotten into music at a professional level if it wasn't for the fact that I was so shy because, you know, when you're a teenager, you're usually going out with your friends. There's so many distractions and things that you want to do, but music, to do it at a high level, really requires a lot of work. And I was
yes.
so shy, and on the other hand, I loved music, so that led me to spend like 6, 8 hours a day just practicing. Um, and when I was home, and I was very attached to my mother and to my sister, and anyway, and it was a very incredible environment to grow up in. But on the other hand, I was very protected, and I
What
didn't.
city were you? Please mention the city.
Yes,
You grew
I
up
was
in
growing up
Verona.
in Italy, in
Yes.
Verona, in
Yes.
northern Italy. For those of you
Yes.
who you're very familiar, I'm sure, with Venice and with Milan. So if you drive from Venice to Milan, about halfway through, you get to Verona. And of course, you know Verona because Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare wrote
Yeah.
about it, and the two gentlemen, and you know,
Yeah.
I like to think of myself as one of them. But so so I grew up in this, and Verona. It's a wonderful place. It's this medieval city, gorgeous. It looks like a movie set, but it's a very old place. It's like the opposite of New York. The families, they've been there for hundreds of years, and
Yes.
so what I found is that when everybody knows everybody, there's very little um, openness, in the sense that in a city like New York, for instance, everybody's a foreigner. And so everybody wants to meet everybody. And that feeling of everybody wanting to meet everybody creates this energy. Whereas in Italy, in Verona, it was the opposite. But anyway, be that as it may, I grew up very shy. And finally, when my quote unquote college experience, which is for most people in the United States, when they leave home, and that for me was when I went to Moscow, to the conservatory in Russia. And suddenly, I felt that I was able to connect with people. And I think it was because I started studying Russian. I didn't speak Russian when I went, and I started studying Russian very intensely. And nobody spoke Italian and nobody spoke English. So I
Yeah.
had to
That
speak
time. Yes.
Russian. That was it. And I loved it. And it somehow it came natural to me. And also the people in Russia, in Moscow, in that conservatory. Imagine, Olga, freezing Moscow, and of this building, the общежитие, with like 500 rooms. Each room had a piano, and nobody
Oh
could
my
really go
God.
out. So it was like one big party going on the whole
Concert
time,
and
and
party.
and
Yes.
and of course playing, and you know 500 pianos going at the same time. It wasn't good if you wanted to take a nap, but otherwise it was amazing. And the Russians that I met there, they were so generous. They were so, they would invite me over, and I would go from one room to another room. Chai, хочешь чай, печенье, давай. I wasn't cooking anything because
Let me just translate for some of our listeners who do not speak Russian. Julian just mentioned the tea and the cookies and everything else in Russian. Go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
and it was, at the beginning I lived at home. I didn't know that, I was very silly, I guess. I thought, well, I don't need pots and pans. I'll just somehow eat without pots and pans. So anyway, I would be practicing, and around 6 p.m. I would start to get very hungry and wonder, gee, I don't feel well. And then I was like, oh, of course, it's because I haven't eaten anything in like hours. So then I would knock on the door of the neighbor, and he'd say, oh, wow, you're the guy from Italy. And we talk, and he'd invite me for tea and cookies. And I'd say, oh, thank you, that's great. In Italy, first you have to refuse first several times, and then, oh, okay. Нужно, чтобы уговорили тебя. They have to like convince you. And then I thought, okay, bye-bye. I go to the next neighbor and then do the same thing. After 5 people, I was full. And it was a great experience. And also, I suddenly realized, well, I can do this. I can live on my own. And I was so lucky to have so much love from my family. And now I'm just, I guess I love people because I feel very connected.
Obviously. Have you ever thought of becoming a stand-up comedian or sans piano?
Well, I'm working on it. I'm working on getting rid of the piano. It's just dead weight. No, I think that for me, I'm first a pianist. When I come out in a concert, I first sit down and play the piano. So first, I'm a musician, and then I'm someone who wants everybody to connect with it, and I do it through humor, and other people do it different ways. But that's how I've found, for me, is the easiest way to connect. If people start laughing, then they're very open to, if you can make them laugh, then they're very open to listening.
Yes, that's true. I think probably, I know your sister and I have met your parents long time in Singapore. I think it's probably genetic predisposition for you. All of you have an incredible sense of humor. So I think you inherited it. What are the fundamental principles of upbringing that you had besides your parents giving you piano or love for the classical music and who studied the piano? Is there anything?
Well, it's a very interesting question for me, because I think about it all the time now that I have kids. And,
yes, exactly.
And most of the time I think I'm a terrible failure as a parent, and people have told me, no, don't worry, everybody feels like a failure, but it's just so difficult. And I remember when I was growing up, my mother was very, anything you want, sure, yes, always yes. And my father was more like strict and keeping us in line. And I think it was a very good combination, because I was just talking about it with my father the other day. It sometimes feels very good to know what you can't do, especially as a little kid, like who doesn't know. And then knowing, oh, you can't put this coffee on the table, then they know that, and somehow they're like, okay, can I do it? They ask you again, you're like, no. And they feel good about that. And if they think that they can do anything, then they feel a little lost. And I think that perhaps I'm very bad at discipline. I'm very bad at saying no, because I feel that it's, I'm older, and it's easier for me to understand, to have the good sense. Actually,
well, I can relate to that. I also have difficulties for saying no. So yeah.
You have also difficulty saying no, Olga?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, you look at the news and you wonder, wow, some people really clearly don't have good sense, even as adults. But, as a loving parent, for me, it's very difficult. And I think that my wife, Electra, in a way, is very similar to me. She derives great pleasure from, seeing the kids doing anything they want. And then, there are some consequences to pay. But I think that, the most important thing is loving them, and then they do figure it out.
Well, Julian, talking about sort of, being surrounded by kids all the time, you've been in Paris all this time for the lockdown, and most time actually spent in Paris. For someone like you who has been traveling the world all the time for your performances, how does it feel? And I'm sure it's probably has some kind of a reflection into your new compositions. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about your
Sure. Yeah.
lockdown and
Yeah,
compositions
so
you
the
time?
lockdown, especially the first one, was very traumatic because we were just home and the kids were home from school and we were all there the whole time, and so it was very difficult to because one our daughter Nikita is 8, so she's wonderful really, and but our son who's just horrible, he's a terrible person, but I think everybody at 3 they're all terrible people. He's wonderful, of course, but he's 3, and so he just wants to scream and get his own way. And if you bring him a
How did
cookie,
you compose? How did you compose
well,
during
well,
this
we
lockdown?
tied them down, and no, but we thought about it very seriously. I think that we took turns in being the entertainer of the kids, and took advantage of whatever moment we had. I always think of my sister who was able to write a dissertation with I think her son was 2 or something at the time, and I always ask her how did you do it, and she said, well, I was very quick and took advantage of every like single split second that I had a free moment. And so that's, I think, kind of what we're forced to do.
So
And
what
I
did
will
you
tell
what
you this, Olga, that sometimes when you're forced because of circumstances to do a lot in a very little amount of time, it's better. If you
yeah,
have the whole day
okay.
and nothing, no interruptions, and all the inspiration and the beautiful view and everything, it can sometimes be very daunting. You're like
Yeah.
crushed by the weight
Yeah.
of having all this free time. Um, I don't have it,
So
so.
so what are particular compositions that you've composed during this lockdown in Paris? And do you think in general your routine, your creative routine is similar to, I would say, writers and artists in a sense,
Well,
especially
I think that I'm someone who I know that writers usually talk about sitting down and writing for a couple of hours every day, no matter what. Even if they throw it all away, they just sit and they write a couple of hours. And at least at this point, I don't get to do that. Well, I shouldn't say that. When the kids are in school, I do get to do that. When the kids are in school, they're even James, he's already in school, so they're out from 9 to 4. So that's a long time. And in that time, I do get to sit down. But a couple of things that I was able to do during the lockdown. One was I started making these lockdown videos, and
okay,
I thought it was a great way to connect because it wasn't just France that was in a lockdown. It was the world that was
yeah,
suddenly
yes,
in a shared experience, and
yeah,
everybody was experiencing the world through their windows. And
yes,
so I thought it would be great to make videos that would connect with everybody and also would make me feel like I was doing something positive. And so
yes,
I did many of those, and some were just simply me playing a piece of music, like a Chopin
okay,
prelude or something like that. And others were more involved videos. I did one that was very, I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. I asked for people to send me the view from their window,
well,
and I put it,
you did ask me as well, I
and I
remember.
asked you, of course,
Yes,
yes, and I have yours. And the video was called "Confined We Stand," and I put a piece of music that I've written, and I think a lot of people connected with that because it was our shared experience.
yes,
Um,
wonderful.
and the
And
other important thing that came out of the lockdown in terms of creativity, my wife and I, we started this video series called One Classical Minute.
yes, can
And
you tell us a little bit about this project, please?
yes,
Yes.
it's I think it's definitely one of the things that we're both very excited about. So the idea is each little video of a minute or a little bit more than a minute, it profiles one composer and gives you the salient biographical and musical points of their life, and it goes with a piece. So you see me sit down at the piano and start to play a piece, and then I start talking. Frederick Chopin, the most famous expat, because he leaves Poland and he ends up living in Paris, and so it's all done kind of fast and snappy with the editing, and a lot of it, we were able to do it like on location, like for the Chopin episode. Since he lived in Paris, we were able to go to Père Lachaise, where he's buried, and see the cemetery
Beautiful.
where part of him resides, because he sent his heart back to Poland, which is a very interesting fact also. And then the Church of the Madeleine, where the 3,000 people showed up for his funeral, and just the streets that he walked. And it's interesting, and I think that people have been enjoying them, I think.
No, it's amazing. It's also very educational, and I believe this is also another incentive for to open people's minds and to have this interactive educational experience and listening to the music on its own. I would like to also ask you, because you've done so many different projects, and I would like to ask you about the project that you've started, I believe, in 2015. It's called Getting to Carnegie.
Oh yeah, well,
Please
so Getting to
Carnegie.
Carnegie.
This is a competition, isn't it? So can you
Getting to Carnegie is a competition that happens every year, and it rotates between violin, cello, and voice. And this past year, it happens in January, and it happens at Carnegie Hall. The final round takes place at Carnegie Hall, and the 4 finalists, there are always 4 finalists that are selected, and they play with me at Carnegie, and we play a piece that I write. And each one plays one movement, and it's the world premiere of the piece, but it's strange because it's played by 4 different people. And then at the end of the evening, the audience chooses the winner instead of having a professional
very fair. So you don't bribe anybody, and it's totally fair.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm happiest about this competition is that I don't vote. The people say, well, who did you want? I don't. It's up to the audience. It's up to the listeners. But this year with COVID, we weren't able to do it at Carnegie Hall because Carnegie Hall is closed. And so, in fact, I just passed in front of Carnegie Hall, and you know the famous joke, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Somebody on the street asks, he's asking for directions, and he gets this answer. And now they've written in front of Carnegie Hall, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Patience, 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 because it's closed. But so it was closed, and we were very lucky. We got a grant from Alphadyne, and they were very generous, and so we were able to hire a company to make the whole experience online. So the competition happened, and the evening was an hour live cast where the 4 competitors all played, and the voting took place online. And part of our goal as Carnegie, is this Getting to Carnegie competition, because young violinists this year were performing, is to, again, make music more accessible and interesting to young people and in general to people. And when you do it in a concert hall, it's usually limited to that concert hall. But this year, over 25,000 people viewed it, and 5,000 people voted. It was really very, very, we were very lucky also because we had this, the violin channel that helped us stream it through their channel, and they have like 500,000 followers. And so we were lucky with a couple of things, but in the end, it was really, a great experience and bigger than ever.
It's wonderful. What is the criteria for the musicians to get into this competition, and what is the minimal age?
So it's 18 is the minimum age, and 29. It's 18 to 29. So it's young people, but it's not like it's not 12-year-olds, but it's young people. And I have to say, it's a very open competition in the sense that, and I think unlike most of the competitions, there's no fee to apply. So anybody can apply. All you need to apply is you just need to send a video of you playing. Like if you're a violinist, then it's for violin that year, just playing a piece for violin. So it's anybody can, you just need your birthday and the video link of you playing.
Yeah.
And then that's the first round, and there's a jury for the first round that selects 4 finalists and 4 alternates.
Okay.
And then those finalists are invited to Carnegie Hall. And this year we didn't go to Carnegie Hall, but you know, the winner of this year is going to come to Carnegie Hall next year. Actually, her manager just wrote me an email this morning saying, I realize it's a bad time in COVID and all, but we want to organize for next year for the trip to Carnegie Hall.
Fantastic. So. Fantastic. And it seems that it's a project that you know, it's once again, it's uniting people from all over the world. It's giving this chance for them to connect and to express themselves in a venue like Carnegie Hall. I'm sure it's extremely
well, it's a lot of fun there
special.
because, especially when it happens at Carnegie Hall, at the end, after all 4 performers have played and the audience is voting, there's a moment when I bring all 4 out on stage, and then we have, it's a little bit like the format of a talk show. So they're the speakers.
You probably talk more and they play.
Sorry, what did you say, Olga?
You probably talk more out of them 4.
Yeah.
You're the one who do most talking,
I do
right?
all the talking. No,
Yes,
I do the moderating. And I drop in a few remarks, but the audience gets a chance to ask these young, you know, brilliant musicians that spend most of their time in a practice room, for sure, at this point. They get to ask them, you know, all sorts of questions, like anything. And it's usually very interesting for an audience member who has just heard a brilliant performance to then be able to talk to the person and just ask them anything, you know.
Fantastic.
It's fun.
Yes, and I know, I mean, I remember that actually my mother attended, you kindly invited my mother a few times, so yeah, she thoroughly enjoyed it. And besides that, you have another project that it's the Water Island Music Festival, isn't it? And
yes,
which moved to online, of course, as well. And can you tell us a little bit about that? I believe it's starting soon again, I think next week or something like that.
Yes.
Please tell us about the project.
Thank you for mentioning that, because it had slipped my mind. But yes, no. So every year after Carnegie
next week, Julian.
Yes, thank you, Olga. I need someone to keep me straight.
There you go.
After Carnegie Hall, one of the parts of the prize of that competition is the winner comes to the Water Island Music Festival, which is held in the Virgin Islands. And if you're familiar with New York in January, it's a very cold place.
Yes.
And so we all fly to the Virgin Islands, and when we get off the plane,
how thoughtful of you.
See how thoughtful of me. And and these musicians, it's just a wonderful festival where amazing musicians, but we're also at the beach, and it's just a wonderful experience. And so the festival in Water Island has been going on for 17 years. And again, I think that I always credit it to luck, but people say, well, it's not luck. It's just that you're very focused on doing things. But I met a wonderful person in the Virgin Islands called Alex Randall. And he's someone who is like a larger than life persona, and someone who doesn't care about, boards and rules, and he just wants music. And he egotistically had a family, had young kids living on Water Island, and he wanted to bring culture to his island because, it's very difficult to bring all the kids to New York to get to Carnegie Hall. Yet, what if Carnegie Hall comes to us? Comes to our island. So that was the idea. And then from there, it kind of grew. And we've been doing it now for 17 years. So it's kind of something that they expect. Now, of course, this year it's going to be online. So the most of the music will be, it will be videos that we're showing of the performers that have played. And then
make sure you put a nice background of a beautiful sea behind.
Yes.
So at least,
with the waves, the water.
It is the waves, exactly. Well, it's amazing, wonderful. Well, I want to, I've experienced myself, lucky for me, the concerts and the way you perform and the way you interact with your guests. And it's definitely a very interactive experience. And actually, you know, there have been a lot of reviews and a lot of comments about your concerts, including from my clients who enjoyed your performances here in Singapore. And someone said, I think I will read it, that the courier mail actually said about you, he's the only classical musician I know who could truly be regarded as a rock star as well. So what do you say about that? And how did you, and basically I want to ask you, how did you come up with this Jerry Seinfeld kind of beat to captivate the audience?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the rock star thing, because I think one thing that we associate with rock stars is this moment at a rock concert when there's so many people packed together and the rock star jumps off the stage into the audience and they catch him. And I was just mentioning that to the audience in Richmond because they were, you know, they were so spaced apart. And I was saying, this is really not the kind of place I can jump off the stage and anybody will catch me. I think at the end of the day, everybody likes to feel loved. And as a performer, for sure, we're probably, you know, we feed off the energy of the audience. So the feeling of an audience that is very excited about what you do is massively important for performers, definitely for me. And in fact, that's been one of the difficulties doing these concerts online.
Yeah,
because it's really hard.
Yeah, the energy, absolutely. I've experienced it myself, and I was doing some kind of a Zoom presentations because I'm you know, I also talk about my projects with passion, and it's when you don't see the reaction and you don't feel the energy next to you, it's extremely difficult. I totally
It's very, very difficult.
agree. Yes.
I think that the whole kind of, well, Jerry Seinfeld is somebody that I grew up loving, and I just love his sense of humor. And so I think that it feels very close to the way I see the world, where, you know, you just look at everyday things and they seem ridiculous, perhaps. And so I do talk about things, you know, that just come up in concerts. You know, I remember one concert I did at Carnegie Hall where I told the audience right at the beginning, I said, you know, the person that you have to be most thankful to tonight is my taxi driver who was able to get me here on time, because, you know, but, you know, just like, and people suddenly stop thinking about you as, you know, this guy who comes out in a tuxedo and plays the piano. But, oh, this is someone who, just like us, took a taxi here or took the sub, you know. I remember once I went with this, you just talk about any everyday thing. Another concert I was playing and there was a crying baby in the audience. And I mentioned that, you know, the baby was crying so much during the first half of the concert, and then they took him home, and I had just gotten used to the crying while I was playing, and now I have to get used to the silence. And, you know, I don't know, it's just like, just any, you know, silly stuff. And maybe it just came into my head in that moment. But I think that makes the audience, it's almost like they're on your team suddenly. Yeah. Like you're all on the same side as opposed to them and you.
Absolutely. So this is, I mean, you just gave us, I guess, an example of Saturday Night Live meets Carnegie Hall, isn't it? Or, well, what is it for you? Give us, I know, I'm sorry you don't have a piano.
I was very... Oh, sorry. Let me hear your question. Sorry.
No, I said, I'm sorry. I wish you would have a piano to perform. Other than you would have give us your 2 minutes spiel on the Saturday Night Live with Carnegie Hall interaction. But it's okay. We'll have to attend your concert one of the days.
This will be a bigger incentive, Olga, to attend the concert.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that that when we did the online experience of the live stream, in a sense, it, you know, Saturday Night Live, obviously it's filmed in front of a live audience, but at the end of the day, it's something that you see it on TV, and because we were able to prepare this live stream so well, and I was able to like create certain video skits which were inserted into it, it actually did feel a little bit like I was hosting an episode of it. So that I hope to one day be able to host one, you know, the real Saturday Night Live. But for now, it's been fun having my own little ones.
Yes, amazing. Well, Julian, your program is very diverse. You play amazingly and beautiful classical pieces. Of course, you have tango transcriptions, but you also compose. Can you? And in between the pieces, I just, because some of the our listeners, they never experienced the concerts with you, so I just wanted to emphasize again that you play and then you stop yourself at some point and then you interact with audience. And you tell the stories. So tell us about your compositions, because you narrate your compositions as well, and what influences you to compose certain things, and give us an example.
I think that everything that happens in my life influences the compositions that I do. I wrote a piece recently, relatively recently. I was out with Nikita, and I was just going to buy the bread in Paris, and suddenly she got lost, and I couldn't see her. And it was in Paris, you know, when there was no lockdown and the streets were very, very busy, and of course I think that that's something that most parents can relate to, because kids, they run away, or they, you know, in her case, she didn't ever know she was lost. She was just in a store. She had gone in, and I didn't see her, and so I was horrified. And and that's a story that I tell, and you know, and then I play the piece, and I also tell them that, you know, my wife would not have been very happy if I had come home, you know, with just the baguette and no kid. So I think that people can relate to stuff like that, and sometimes the piece is not so clearly related to something, but I would like to, since I'm here, I would love to encourage anybody that's listening, because so much of what I do is now online and on YouTube. If they can, and if they want to see any of these classical minutes, it's very easy. You can just go to oneclassicalminute.com, and then you can see all the classical minutes, and you can subscribe to the channel, and that would be a big
oneclassicalminute.com. Okay, we'll remember, and I will write it down as well on my post for sure.
Thank you very much. We have oneclassicalminute.com, and it takes you right to all the episodes.
Wonderful. Well, Julian, I just want to, once again, there are so many reviews about the amazing performances. I just came across one of the quotes from ABC TV, and I would like to read it to our listeners before we move to a few of the personal questions to finish up our conversation with you. He was in town last night. He's just brilliant. There are not enough words to describe the genius behind him. Because when he sits down and plays, you are watching a Beethoven or Chopin. Years from now, your grandkids and great-grandkids will be talking about Julien. He's magnificent. And I cannot agree more, Julien.
Well, thank you.
Really, for all these years, your talent and your energy and your skills and just love and passion for music and for life and for people is really, really very, very special. So thank you for that. Now we move to chat a little bit about your hair.
Yes, I was waiting for you to ask. I thought you never would. Olga.
Well, you're called the pianist with the hairs, and you know, I don't know. Is it a lucky token? Is it like a talisman that you have to have this
let me take it off then. Well, you know what we can say? If people follow you, Olga, if they follow your channel, they will get the secret to how to get the hair curled just right.
Yeah, no, amazing.
To tell you the truth, it's I guess I wasn't happy with the hair when I was growing up, but now it kind of became my trademark. And there's nothing I do in particular. In fact, when I did this concert just recently, I was telling the audience, I said, do you like my haircut? And they thought I was joking, because I have all this hair. But I did cut my hair right before the concert, because I think it makes it a little bit bouncier. And there's a lot of it, and it just keeps coming, and it's funny. But I'm cutting it all the time, and I cut it myself. It's
I,
yeah, it's just
well, you're saving a lot of money. What can
I'm
I say?
saving a lot of money, Olga. It's true.
Yes,
This is
yes.
what I was getting to.
Yes, well, and Julian, you spoke a lot about your kids, and I know your family, your parents and your sister. But when you told me years ago that you're getting married, I was actually surprised because you never strike me as a marrying type, to be honest with you. But the Electra is, and then you spoke so beautifully about Electra. Uh, can you tell us a few words about your wife?
Sure. So uh, that's funny that you say I don't strike you as the marrying type.
Well,
Well, Electra and I met in New York, and I think neither of us are really the marrying type. But then I guess when you fall in love, then
that's
that's what
it,
happens.
yes.
We didn't, in fact, really think so much about that idea of marrying. We just wanted to keep being together and having fun, and that's kind of what we did and what we continue to do. And those two rotten kids have ruined our lives. But no, and then we had Nikita, and then we had James, and we met in New York, and it was such an experience. In fact, we always want to move back to New York because we both love New York so much. And the fact that I'm here now and Electra is in Paris is, she's really wishes she were here with me. But people always say, well, why did you move to Paris? So we moved to Paris because Electra got accepted into this very prestigious program at the Sorbonne
Sorbonne, yes.
University for simultaneous translation. And, even though we had the kid, Nikita at the time, it was so difficult, but she was able to finish it. Imagine 400 people applied to the program. They took only 12, and of the 12, only 6 graduated. So it
Oh
was
my
truly
God,
very, very competitive. And now
exceptional.
she works for the European Union, and it's always very stressful because it's
Yes,
like going to do a concert, but you don't know what you're going to play until the very last second because they
yes.
just talk and you have to just repeat it in another language simultaneously. So so she's a very exciting person and a very fast person, and I think she gets frustrated with me sometimes. But that's how it is. I think
Yes,
you know, if it weren't that way, maybe then it wouldn't be so good.
that's true. And your kids, or in general, the kids in general, how important it is, you think, for the kids to learn the music and for the kids to be exposed to music in terms of playing or just simply listening?
Uh, I think every people ask me, is Nikita playing the piano? Are they starting?
Mm.
And in fact, I was making a joke about that at the concert because I said, that you know they both like music and they both sit at the piano because I'm playing a lot, and so they're very exposed to it because they
Yeah,
hear it at home all the time. They're lucky, you know. Their father is a pianist, a
yeah,
classical pianist. I think it's very important. Then of course at what age you start is my joke was that in Russia they start in vitro, the kids, when they're still, because they start
yeah.
you very little, but
Very true.
but it is true, and I think it's great. But for me, I haven't pushed either of the kids at all to make it something that they feel like they have to do. And for
Yeah,
me, it was like that. It was something that I just liked to do until I was old enough where I chose it on my own.
yeah. I
So I
can
think at
understand.
8, Nikita's 8, and that's old, but it's not. It's still she wants to have fun, and some
Yeah.
kids are different. Some kids at 8 they're already very serious, but she's just someone who wants to have fun, and so I don't want to make it a job for her at
Yes.
this age.
Yes, I understand. Thank you for sharing. And what is your all-time favorite tune or composer? And
Well, I used to say Beethoven was my all-time favorite, and now that I'm writing music myself, I still say Beethoven.
got it. I got it. And Julian, um, besides me, of course, do you miss Singapore?
Well, of course, it's difficult to be away from you, Olga, but I do miss Singapore very much, and I look forward to going back. For me, Singapore is, of course, very tied to my sister, who has lived
Of
there, and
course.
her
And
kids
she's
and her husband.
wonderful.
and I'm very, very close to her. And I'm saying this mainly because I know that she's listening. No,
Yes, no,
we're
but
very, very close. She was like
I
a
know that,
mother
yes.
to me growing up, and it's always so much fun to be there with her. And of course, I miss Singapore. It's a place that I've played in so many times,
Yes.
and I really hope that I'll be able to come back. I know
Well,
it's
I
very
will be
close.
very happy to help you with, as you know, and arrange for your concert here. And I'm looking forward when you can do it live and welcome you back here. What shall we look forward for from Julian in post-pandemic? Hopefully, post-pandemic will come very soon.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I'm very much looking forward to post-pandemic. I'm getting my first shot of Pfizer tomorrow.
Okay,
So,
good luck. Drink lots of water and take vitamin C. And what shall we look forward from you? What projects and what you're
what's
working
coming
on?
up next?
What's coming up next exactly?
That's a very, very interesting question. Well, in about 5 minutes, there are movers coming in to take a couch away from this apartment. So
Okay, we're finishing
very
in 2
close.
minutes.
That's very next. Then I'm meeting today with another wonderful person who's writing a grant for me. I might be recording the sonata that I did at Carnegie, which was my third violin sonata, and we might be recording it for a very prestigious festival that happens online. I'm playing in a festival in July in the States where the other people on the program are very, very famous, like the Emerson String Quartet. It's one of the greatest string quartets in the world, and the Canadian Brass, and me. So it's very exciting.
The pianist with the hair.
Pianist with the hair, yeah.
That's
So I
right.
have so many exciting things coming
Wonderful.
up, but
Well, make
I'm
sure that
excited
you
to
keep
be here
us
with you.
posted.
I'm excited
And
to be here with you, Olga.
thank you so much. So, Julian, what are your last words for this conversation with me today of wisdom, or perhaps what is your last joke for tonight for my conversation?
Well,
Before we say goodbye.
I always say that the secret to life is low expectations.
Actually, you're very true.
I think that I'm getting tennis elbow, which is as close to playing sports as I've ever gotten. That's one of my. But no, my last words of wisdom are. I don't know if they're funny, but I think that you have a choice in life to be happy. You have a choice because you can't affect what happens to you, but you can very much affect how you react to it. And,
you have a choice, and I thought. Yes, it's very, very important. Yes, you have a choice to be happy. It's definitely a word of wisdom for all of us, and for me in particular. Thank you so much, Julian, for this, and thank you very much again for joining me your morning and our evening here. And it's great, really pleasure to talk to you, and we're all looking forward for you to come back to Singapore and to listen to more of your performances, to hear more of your jokes, and to feel all your energy again. Thank you very much, and have a safe trip back, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Olga.
This conversation will be posted on my post as well as on the stories for some of you who were not able to listen to all of the conversation live. You will be able to have a link and to listen to it at your leisure, I should say. Thank you again.
Thank you, Olga. I can't wait to give you a real hug.
Yes, me too, likewise. Спасибо большое, Julian.
Спасибо
До
тебе.
свидания. Всего доброго. Bye. Целую. Bye.
Целую.
Целую. Bye.